Class, our topic for today is financial statement analysis. Class, our topic for today is financial statement analysis or FS analysis. In FS analysis, the users analyze the financial statements of a company in order to help them in their decision making. Okay, ulitin ko class. In FS analysis, the users, sino ba yung users ng financial statements? Shareholders, creditors, suppliers, managers, government, etc. Analyze the financial statements of a company to help them in their decision making. Okay, so that is FS analysis. Now, we have three tools in FS analysis. Isa-isahin natin yan. Number one, horizontal or trend analysis. Number two, vertical or common size analysis. And number three is ratio analysis. Start na tayo with horizontal analysis. In horizontal analysis, we evaluate financial statement items over a period of time. Okay, yung keywords dito class, yung over a period of time. So basically, i-analyze natin ano yung changes or how much yung changes every year. Okay? And yung changes na yun, expressed siya as percentage change. Okay? Percentage change. Let's have an illustration para mas malinaw. For example, yung company natin, sa ABC Company, nag-report siya ng sales in 2025, 1 million. Ayan. 1 million sales. In 2026, tumaas, naging 1.4 million. Now, in horizontal analysis, alamin natin, ilang percent yung increase yan. Okay? Percentage change. May formula tayo dyan. Formula natin is year 2 minus year 1 over year 1. Okay? Ang tawag natin dito sa year 1 yan, this is our base year. Okay? Base year. Take note yung base year natin, yun din yung denominator or yung nasa ilalim ng formula natin. Okay? So, compute tayo class. Ano yung year 2 natin? 2026. Yung year 1 natin or yung base year natin is 2025. Year 2, 1.4 million. Minus year 1, 1 million over 1 million. Compute natin class yan. 1.4 million minus 1 million divided by 1 million, that is 40%. Okay? 40% increase. So under horizontal analysis, we can say na from 2025 to 2026, yung sales nag-increase siya by 40%. Okay? Ganoon na kasimple. Now, may different formula ako na ginagamit. I think mas madali siya. Okay? Ganito ginagawa ko class. Instead na ganyan, year 2 over year 1 minus 1. Okay? Ganun din makukuha mo dyan. Sa tingnan mo class ha. Year 2 natin is 1.4 million. Minus 1 million, minus 1. Okay? So 1.4 divided by 1 million, minus 1, you also get 40%. Okay? So actually, class, ito yung mas ginagamit ko. Year 2 over year 1 minus 1. Para sa akin, mas madali yun compare dito. Okay? So, anyway, so kaya siya class tinawag na horizontal analysis. Kasi ang i-analyze natin is every year. So take note, pwedeng hindi 2 years ha, pwedeng 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So every year, ina-analyze natin yung changes. Okay? Kaya mo rin siya tinawag na trend analysis. So makikita natin yung trend. O, nag-increase ba yung sales? Or bumaba ba yung expenses? Tumaas ba yung net income? And so on and so forth. And take note class, na hindi lang sa sales ginagawa yan. Sa lahat ng items in the financial statements. Pwede mong gawin sa cash, sa ER, sa expenses, sa net income, and so on and so forth. Okay? Tawag natin dyan, horizontal or trend analysis. Next, vertical, also called common size analysis. Under vertical analysis naman class, we evaluate items within the financial statements, okay, as a percentage of a base amount. Okay? So ito yung keywords natin dyan. Percentage of a base amount. Sir, ano yung ibig sabihin ng base amount? Depende yan class kung ano yung ina-analyze mo. If balance sheet items yung ina-analyze natin, yung base amount natin class is the total assets. Okay? Pag ang ina-analyze naman natin is the income statement, yung base amount mo naman dyan is your sales or your revenues. Right? Now, may example tayo. No? Now, yung vertical analysis class, usually ginagamit yan when comparing two companies. Comparing two companies. Okay? Actually, may term tayo dyan. Pag two companies kino-compare natin, ang tawag natin doon is intercompany comparison or intercompany analysis. Okay? Sir, paano ina-apply yung comparing two companies? Tayo sa ABC. Okay? Sa XYZ, let's say, yan yung competitor natin. Kalaban natin. Okay? For example, sa ABC, no, nag-report siya ng sales tayo. May sales tayo na 1 million. And then, cost of goods sold natin is 400,000. Therefore, meron tayong gross profit na 600,000. Minus expenses, let's say 200,000. Therefore, meron tayong net income na 400,000. Alright? Now, yung kalaban natin sa XYZ, let's say yung sales niya 2 million. And then, cost of goods sold niya is 1 million. And also, may gross profit siya na 1 million. Expenses niya, 600,000. Therefore, si XYZ, meron siyang net income na 400,000. Okay? At first glance, pag kinumpare mo sa ABC and XYZ, parehong 400,000 yung net income. So at first glance, parang isipin natin equally profitable sila. Okay? But using vertical or common size analysis, paano ulit yan? Lahat ng items, i-express natin as percentage of a base amount. Pag balance sheet, total assets. Pag income statement, sales. Well, income statement to. Sales, cost of goods, etc. Income statement yan. Now, in vertical analysis, i-express natin yan as percentage. So, ganito gagawin ko class. Cost of goods sold tayo. 400,000 divided by 1 million, that is 40%. Okay? 600,000 divided by 1 million, that's 60%. 200,000 divided by 1 million, that is 20%. 400,000 divided by 1 million, that is 40%. Okay? Ang tawag natin dyan, vertical. Okay? Pag ganun, vertical analysis. So, hindi na horizontal, every year. Ito naman, vertical. Okay? So, gawin din natin yan kay XYZ. So, cost of goods sold niya, 1 million divided by 2 million, that is 50%. Okay? Gross profit niya is 50%. Expenses, 600,000 divided by 2 million, that is 30%. And the net income, 400,000 divided by 2 million, that is 20%. Okay, now, kanina, ang conclusion natin, unang tingin natin, equally profitable kasi 400,000. Pero pag in-analyze mo siya using vertical analysis, mapapansin natin, si ABC pala, mas mababa yung cost niya as percentage of sales. 40% lang. Ibig sabihin, mas nakakatipid siya sa pagpuproduce ng mga units, parang gano'n. Kasi 50 siya, ito 40%. Okay? Therefore, mas mataas yung gross profit ni ABC. Sa expenses naman, 20% lang. Okay? As percentage of sales, compared kay XYZ, mas malaki yung expenses na nai-incur niya. Alright? And yung margin or yung net income ni ABC is actually 40%. Relatively, mas mataas siya than XYZ since ang income lang niya is only 20% of sales. So, parang ang magiging conclusion natin dito, well, for me, mas profitable si ABC compared to XYZ kahit meron silang equal na net income. Gets? Okay. Tawag natin dyan, vertical or common size analysis. Again, ginagamit yan pag nagko-compare ka ng two companies. Right, ang tawag doon, intercompany. And usually kasi in practice, ginagamit sabayan. Okay? Both yung horizontal and vertical. Pwedeng gamitin sabayan. Last one. Actually, yung discussion natin class and yung handouts natin, mas mag-focus on ratio analysis. Pag sa mo ratio analysis naman, we evaluate relationships among financial statement items. Okay? Now, maraming formulas yan sa ratio analysis. Ang gagawin natin, kailangan mo lang mag-i-familiarize, no? Actually, hindi ko kabisado talaga yung mga formulas na yan, pero familiar ako. And later, tuturuan ko kayo ng pattern kung paano nyo madaling maaalala yung formulas. Okay ba? Sige. Now, in ratio analysis class, meron tayong 3 characteristics of a company na ina-analyze natin. Okay, sulat mo muna, liquidity, solvency, and profitability. Ulitin ko in ratio analysis, meron tayong 3 characteristics ng company na ina-analyze natin. Liquidity, solvency, and profitability. Sir, ano yung liquidity? Basically, ito yung ability to pay short-term obligations. Okay? Ability to pay short-term obligations. Sa analyze natin kung yung company ba natin kaya magbayad ng short-term obligations. Ano yung short-term obligations? Current liabilities. Maganda example yan, accounts payable. Okay? So yung able ba or kaya ba ng company natin magbayad ng accounts payable on time? And usually, kasi ang tumitingin ng liquidity is the suppliers. Right? Yan yung concern dyan, suppliers. Next, solvency. Ability to pay long-term obligations. Okay? Yan solvency. Kung liquidity is short-term, ang difference lang yan sa solvency, long-term naman yung pinag-uusapan natin dyan. Ano example? For example, umutang tayo sa bangko. Meron tayong loans payable. Ang titingin niya ng solvency, yung bank. Okay? Titingnan niya kung kaya mong magbayad ng long-term o matagalan. Alright? And the last one is profitability. So basically, analyze natin yung performance of the company. Okay? So, nag-profit ba siya this year? Nag-loss ba siya? And so on and so forth. Okay? Again, ito yung mga characteristics na i-analyze natin by using ratio analysis. Okay? Magsasagot tayo later sa handouts and then papakita ko sa inyo kung try ko i-explain kung ano ibig sabihin ng ratio na yon. And siguro bibigyan ako ng tips kung paano mo madali maaalala yung formula para dun sa ratios. Okay? But last one, before we answer our handouts, pattern. Okay? So again, maraming formula sa ratio analysis. Bibigyan kita ng pattern para madali mo matandaan. Whenever ang tanong or ang formula, may nakalagay na return. Okay? Pag return, for sure, yung net income is your numerator. Okay? For example, return on assets, return on equity, basta may word na return. Sigurado, yung numerator nun is net income. Ano yung numerator? Yan sa taas ng formula. Denominator yan sa baba. Okay? Ulitin ko. Pag return, net income is your numerator. Okay? Next. Pag naman, turnover. Asset turnover. Okay? Sales turnover, AR turnover, etc. Sales naman yung numerator mo dyan. Okay? Most of the time. Hindi lagi pero pag turnover, most of the time, sales yung numerator mo. Okay? And then last one, pag naman margin, ang tanong sa'yo, okay? Sales yung denominator mo. Okay? So ito yung magiging pattern natin. Guide natin yan Pag return, sigurado, net income yung numerator. Pag turnover, most of the time, sales yung numerator. Pag margin, 100% of the time, sales yung denominator mo. Okay? So yan. Balik-balikan natin yan later. Sige. Plus, again, mag-focus tayo sa ratio analysis. Pero sagutan muna natin yung horizontal and vertical analysis. Punta ka muna dun sa problem number 4. Para after this, puro ratio analysis tayo. Punta ka muna sa problem number 4. Tingnan natin kung paano ginagawa yung horizontal and vertical analysis. Catherine Inc. Nakita mo yun? Yung problem number 4 has the following income statement. Okay, so meron siyang year 1, meron siyang sales na 180, okay? Cost of goods sold 120, gross profit 60, operating expenses 33, and net income 27. Sulat ko muna ulit class ha. Yung year 1 natin, ni Catherine Company, meron siyang net sales. Sulat ko lang, okay, 180. And then cost of goods sold, 120. Therefore, meron siyang gross profit na 60. Okay? Operating expenses, 33. Therefore, net income niya in year 1 is 27. Okay. Now, question number 1. Using vertical analysis. What percentage is assigned to cost of goods sold? O, paano ba vertical analysis pag ganun? Okay? I-express natin each item as percentage ng, depende. Pag balance sheet nag-uusapan natin, as percentage of assets. Dito, income statement. Tama? So, as percentage of sales yan. Okay? So, paano yan, sir? Cost of goods sold, di gagawin na natin, 120. Cost of goods sold over sales. So, 120 divided by 180. Sagot mo dyan, class. 120 divided by 180. That is 67%. O, ganun lang kasimple. Answer natin sa question 1 is letter A. Okay? Question number 2. Using vertical analysis, what percentage is assigned to net income? Ganun lang din. Net income over sales. Okay? Net income natin is 27. Sales natin is 180. Tingnan natin class. 27 divided by 180. That is 15%. Letter C is your answer for question number 2. Ganun lang kadali yung vertical analysis. Basta gusto ko lang i-emphasize class na yung vertical analysis usually ginagamit yan to compare two companies. Alright? Sige. Now, i-extend natin yung problem. Maglagay tayo ng question 3 using horizontal analysis naman. And then, idagdag natin class yung following figures. Okay? So, maglagay tayo ng another 2 years pa. Year 2 and year 3. Okay? Sige. So, sabihin natin sa year 2, meron tayong 300 na sales. So, ilapit natin ng konti para dito. Year 2 and year 3. Okay, so sales natin, sabihin natin na 300 and then 250. Copy mo muna class, so dagdagan na natin yung given para mas magawa natin yung horizontal analysis. 300 and 250, cost of goods sold 170 and 140. Therefore, gross profit is 130 and 110. Operating expenses 50 and 40. Therefore, net income natin, year 2 is 80, sa year 3 naman is 70. Alright? So, ayan. So, additional given na to para magawa natin yung horizontal analysis. Okay. Sige. For example, question 3, sinabi dyan, using horizontal analysis, what is the percentage change from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 to year 3? O, ganun gawin natin. Year 1 to year 2 and then year 2 to year 3. Okay. So, gawin natin class for all. No? Sabihin natin sales muna tayo. So, sales, paano gagawin natin dyan? Ito lang. Apply mo lang to. Year 2 minus year 1 over year 1. Okay? Or, sabi ko, mas madali ito. Ito lang gawin natin. Year 2 over year 1 minus 1. Okay. So, tingnan natin class. From 180, naging 300. Ilang percent change yan? Ilang percentage change? O, gawin ko dyan, 300 over 180. Okay, bakit? Year 2 over year 1 minus 1. Okay, so ilan yan? 300 divided by 180 minus 1, you get 67%. Okay? So, yung sales natin class, nag-increase siya from year 1 to year 2 by 67%. Doon naman tayo, year 2 to year 3. Year 2 to year 3. Okay, gagawin ko naman dyan, 250 over 300 minus 1. Okay, 250 divided by 300 minus 1, that is 17%. This time, nag-decrease naman. Ingat ka, kasi 300, naging 250, obviously nag-decrease yun. Okay, so ayan. From year 1 to year 2, yung sales natin tumaas by 67%. From year 2 to year 3, bumaba naman siya by 17%. Okay, so gawin natin yan for all. Okay? Sabihin natin na sa gross profit, gawin din natin yan. Year 1 to year 2, mas bibilisan ko ha. So 170 over 120 minus 1. Okay, 170 divided by 120 minus 1, that is 42%. Okay, ulitin ko. Sabay gross profit. Ito pala, 130 over 60. Cost of goods sold yata yung na-compute ko. Okay, gross profit natin is 130 over 60 minus 1. Okay, so 130 divided by 60 minus 1, that is, ilan yan? 117% increase. Okay, so take note na lang sa increase or decrease. No? Dito naman, sa year 2 to year 3, 110 over 130 minus 1 is equal to minus 1, that is 15.38%. 15.38%. So this time, decrease naman siya. Alright? So, ganoon na gagawin mo. So, sales, cost of goods sold, gross profit. The last one, net income naman yung compute natin. Net income, from 27 naging 80. So, 80 over 27 minus 1. 80 divided by 27 minus 1. That is, 196% increase. Alright? And then, year 2 to year 3, 80 naging 70. So, 70 divided by 80 minus 1. 70 divided by 80 minus 1. That is 12.5% decrease. Okay lang. Apply mo lang yung formula. That is your horizontal analysis. Easy. Okay? So, ayan. So, done na tayo sa vertical and, horizontal and vertical. Mag-focus na tayo sa ratio analysis, which is, actually, yun naman talaga yung bulk na i-discuss natin. Sige. Let's go to problem number 1. Okay, problem number 1. So, basahin mo muna yung given. So, class, okay lang ba i-erase ko na to? Kasi kailangan ko ng mas malaking space para dun sa ratio analysis natin. Erase ko na, make sure na copy mo yung solution. Usually class, ratio analysis, bibigyan ka ng balance sheet and income statement, no? And then magtatanong na sa'yo ng basically formula. Kukompute tayo ng mga ratios na yan. Sige, let's read. Ayan, so we have the balance sheet and then sa baba, meron tayong income statement. Actually, maraming tanong yan. Hanggang question number 18. Okay, very comprehensive problem, no? Pag nag-gets mo to, medyo safe ka na dyan. Sige, so meron tayong balance sheet again and then meron tayong income statement. Question number 1. So problem 1, question 1. Sabi dyan, what is the firm's current ratio? Okay, lagay mo natin yung formula. Current ratio is equal to current assets over current liabilities. So, sulat mo muna. So, formula ng current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. Basically, class, ang ibig sabihin ng current ratio na yan, no? From the formula. Actually, ang mini-measure niyan is the liquidity. Okay? So, mini-measure niyan is kung able ba tayo magbayad ng mga current liabilities natin. Meron ba tayong enough assets or meron ba tayong enough current assets para bayaran yung current liabilities? Ayun na siya. Okay, so, tingin tayo sa balance sheet. Ano yung current assets niya? Nakita mo ba yung 24,654? Kita mo yan? So, 24,654 over yung current liabilities, tingin ka lang sa baba, nakalagay total current liabilities, 18,480. So, okay, let's compute. 24,654 divided by 18,480, you get 1.33. Nakuha mo yung 1.33? Okay, that is letter D or dog. Okay, now, ibig sabihin class, meron tayong 1.33 pesos na current asset para pambayad for every peso ng current liabilities. Okay? So, mas gusto natin na mas mataas yan. Okay, mas gusto natin, mas mataas sa current ratio, mas okay siya. Alright? So, kailangan familiar ka sa formula. Pag sinabing current ratio, kaya siya tinawag na current, okay? Current assets over current liabilities. Number 2, question 2. Ang sabi naman dyan, class, quick ratio. Yung quick ratio, ang ibang tawag dyan is acid test ratio. Acid test ratio. Okay, sulat ko. Also called acid test ratio. Sir, ano yung quick ratio? Actually, class, more conservative form lang siya ng current ratio. Parang current ratio lang siya, except that hindi natin kino-consider yung inventory. Ganitong formula dyan. Quick ratio is equal to cash plus AR plus short-term investments over current liabilities. Tapos napansin mo, ang difference ng current ratio and quick ratio, sa quick ratio, wala siyang inventory. Dito meron yan kasi total current assets eh. So, ibig sabihin, nandun yung inventory. Sa quick ratio, tandaan mo, more conservative form yan. Sir, bakit more conservative? Kasi class yung inventory, matagal yan i-convert into cash. Okay? Compared to cash, AR, and short-term investments. No? So, kaya mas nagiging conservative tayo. Meron ba tayong enough na current assets, excluding inventory, walang inventory dyan, to pay our current liabilities? So, compute natin. How much yung cash natin dyan? 1,554 plus receivables natin, 9,660. Wala namang investments dyan sa given. Okay, so 0 yan. Okay, divide by current liabilities, 18,480. Okay, so compute natin class, 1,554 plus 9,660 divided by 18,480, you get 0.61. Ako yan. So 0.61 yung quick ratio natin. Okay, so syempre, pag quick ratio, parang current ratio lang yan, gusto natin mas mataas. Alright, the higher, the better. That is letter B, 0.61. Okay, so let's continue to number 3. What is the firm's day sales outstanding? Oh, sir, ano ibig sabihin ng day sales outstanding? Basically, class, pag sinabing day sales outstanding, yan din yung average collection period. Average collection period, or also called days in accounts receivable. Okay, tandaan mo yan ha. Pag sinabing day sales outstanding, tawag din dyan, average collection period or days in AR or accounts receivable. Sir, ano ba ibig sabihin ng day sales outstanding? Ibig sabihin lang yung class, on the average, gaano katagal natin nakokolekta yung accounts receivable? Okay? Gaano katagal natin nako-collect ng accounts receivable? Merong 2 steps pag-compute niyan. Una mong gagawin is, you compute for the accounts receivable turnover. Ito yung first step mo ha. Compute mo muna yung AR turnover. Ano yung AR turnover? Uy, turnover. Sabi ni sir, pag turnover, numerator mo sales. Okay? So, AR turnover is equal to sales over, obviously, accounts receivable. Alright? So, compute mo natin yan. How much yung sales dun sa given? Nakita mo ba yung 58,800? Okay? 58,800 over how much yung AR natin in the balance sheet? 9,660. Okay? 58,800 divided by 9,660. That is 6.09. Round up na natin. 6.09. Sir, ano ba ibig sabihin ng AR turnover? Basically, kung gaano kabilis natin nakokolekta yung receivables. So, ibig sabihin, class, mas mataas yung AR turnover, much better. Ulitin ko, pag sabi AR turnover, gaano kabilis natin nakokolekta yung AR. Right? Pag turnover, most likely, sales yung numerator. Okay? Is AR turnover daw, di AR yung denominator. Okay? So, yun yung first step mo. Hindi pa yun sagot, ha? Ang sagot natin dyan, pag sinabing day sales outstanding, i-express natin siya as number of days para mas madaling maintindihan. Okay? Nakalagay dyan, use 360 days daw. Ganito ko dyan. 360 over yung nakuha mo sa AR turnover mo. Okay? 360 divided by 6.09. Tingnan natin. 360 divided by 6.09, makukuha mo dyan, class, 59.14. Ulitin ko, 360 divided by, nag-round up kasi tayo dito. Divided by 6.09, you have 59 days. Okay, 59 days. Sagot mo dyan, class, is letter D, 59.14. Alright? So, round up na natin, 59 days. Ulitin ko. Ganda yan. Pag day sales outstanding, ibig sabihin, gaano kabilis natin nakukolekta yung AR. Dalawa, 2 steps yan, ha? Una, computing mo na AR turnover. Ano yung AR turnover? Sales over AR. Mas mataas yan, mas okay. Ngayon, medyo mahirap intindihin kasi yung AR turnover. Mas madali siyang maintindihan kapag naka-express siya in number of days. Dito, alam mo na, nakokollect natin yung accounts receivable within, on the average, within 59 days. Gets? Okay. Now, ang implication ng class, yung 59 days na yan, nakokollect natin sa customer yan, tama? Iko-compare mo ngayon yan dun sa term mo with the suppliers. For example, si supplier, ang sabi niya, ang term ko lang sa inyo, magbayad kayo within 40 days, ha? 40. Well, mahihirapan tayong bayaran yan kasi makakollect tayo in 59 days. Pag naman si supplier, binigyan na term sa atin, 90 days. O kaya natin bayaran yun kasi meron na tayong cash in 59 days. Gets? Okay. So class, medyo mabagal lang sa first problem. Medyo mabagal ako mag-discuss, ha. Pero sa next problems natin, mabilisan na. Hindi ko na-explain kung ano ibig sabihin ng ratios kasi na-explain ko na sa problem number 1. Okay? So let's go to... So sagot natin sa question 3 class is 59.14 or 59 days. Question 4, balikan natin yung question 4 later. Doon muna tayo sa question 5 para related sa question 3. Question 5, what is the firm's inventory turnover ratio? Inventory turnover, kanina, yung AR turnover, gaano kabilis natin nakokolekta yung AR. Pag inventory turnover, gaano kabilis natin nabebenta yung inventory. Yun yung ibig sabihin yan, okay? Now, sabi ko kanina, pag turnover, most likely, sales. Okay? Except dito. Sa inventory turnover, ano ba partner ng inventory? Okay, cost of goods sold. Pag nagbenta ka ng inventory, ano journal entry mo? Debit inventory or debit cost of goods sold, credit inventory pag nagbenta ka, okay? Actually, class, ang formula talaga ng inventory turnover is cost of goods sold over inventory. Okay? Kung walang cost of goods sold sa given, dun ka lang gagamit ng sales, alright? Or sales, lagay ko dito, ha? Ulitin ko, ang tamang formula sa inventory turnover, cost of goods sold over inventory. Kasi sa problem natin, walang cost of goods sold. Sales lang yung given, no? So, sales lang gamitin natin. Pero pag may cost of goods sold, yun yung gagamitin mo, ha? Okay. So, sales natin, class, is 58,800. Inventory, tingin ka lang sa balance sheet. That is 13,440. Okay, so 13,440. 58,800 divide by 13,440. Answer mo dyan, class, is 4.375 or 4.38. Ang tawag natin dyan, inventory turnover. Siyempre, mas gusto natin, mas mataas. Ibig sabihin, pag mas mataas, mas mabilis natin na bebenta yung inventory. Balik muna tayo dito, class. Yung day sales outstanding natin kayo ano gusto mo dyan? Mas mataas or mas mababa? Siyempre, gusto natin dito, mas mababa. Ibig sabihin, konting number of days lang makukolect mo na yung AR mo. Okay? Now, what if tinanong dito, class, dito sa question number 5, dagdagan natin kasi inventory turnover yan, di ba? So, pwede mo rin siyang i-convert into days in inventory. Ito, days in AR to, di ba? Okay. So, days in inventory, paano yan? Ang gagawin mo lang dyan, class, 360 over yung na-compute natin na 4.38. Sige nga, 360 divided by 4.38, you have 82 days. Ibig sabihin yan, on the average, nakakabenta tayo ng inventory in 82 days. Alright? Siyempre, gusto natin dito, mas mababa. Pero ito yung nasagot mga 4.38, letter A for question number 5. Okay? So, 360, 4.38. Okay. Now, balik tayo sa question number 4. What is the firm's total asset turnover? Okay, asset turnover. Ano kaya yung formula ng asset turnover? Pag turnover, sabi ni sir, yung pattern natin, sales yung numerator. Okay? Sales over, asset daw asset turnover, dapat denominator mo assets. Okay, so computing natin yung class. Sales natin is how much? 58,800. Total assets, tingin ka lang sa balance sheet, that is 42,000. Asset turnover natin, 58,800 divided by 42,000. Okay, that is 1.4. Answer natin is letter C for question number 4. Sir, ano ba ibig sabihin ng asset turnover? Ibig sabihin yung class, kung gano'n ka-efficient tayo sa paggamit ng assets to generate sales. Okay? How efficient the company utilizes its assets. Yun yung asset turnover. Okay? So, syempre, kung mas mataas yan, ibig sabihin, mas efficient tayo. So, gusto natin mataas yung asset turnover. Right? Okay na lang. Let's go to number 6. What is the times interest earned? Number 6, times interest earned. Ano yung formula natin sa times interest earned? Ganito yung class. Ang formula natin dyan is earnings before interest and taxes over interest expense times interest earned. Ganito yan, ibig sabihin niya. Ano ba yung earnings before interest and taxes? Basically, yun yung net operating income natin. Pag titingin ka sa income statement, ganito yung presentation yan. Earnings before interest and taxes minus interest expense minus taxes, you get net income. Di ba? Ganyan yung presentation natin sa income statement. Earnings before interest and taxes. This is also your NOI or net operating income. Minus mo yung interest, minus mo yung tax, you get your net income. Okay? Now, compute mo natin, ano yung earnings before interest and taxes natin sa problem? Tingin ka lang sa income statement, nakita mo yung EBIT natin na 2,793. Nakita mo yan? 2,793 divided by interest expense in the problem is 1050. O, computin mo natin, 2793 divided by 1050, you get 2.66. Dog yung sagot natin dyan, 2.66. Sir, ano ba ibig sabihin ng times interest earned? Ganito ibig sabihin ng class. Kung meron, yung times interest earned, mini-measure niya kung yung capability natin na magbayad ng interest. Okay? Gaano kalaki yung earnings natin na available na pagbayad ng interest? Parang gano'n. Okay? So, ibig sabihin dito class, 2.66 times kaya nating bayaran yung interest natin. Okay? Earnings before interest and taxes over interest expense, 2.66 times kaya nating bayaran yung interest. Therefore, mas mataas yung times interest earned mo, much better. Alright? So, ganun siya. Answer mo dyan is letter dog. Okay, what is the firm's EBITDA coverage? Actually, class, yung EBITDA coverage, variation lang yan ng times interest earned. Ganito yung formula niyan. EBITDA coverage is equal to EBITDA, okay, over interest expense. Take note, parehong interest expense yung denominator nila. Dito, EBIT. Ito naman, EBITDA. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng EBITDA? Earnings before interest and taxes and before depreciation and amortization. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Ganito natin i-compute yung class. Ibig sabihin, kailangan i-add back mo lahat ng non-cash items. Ano yung non-cash items? Depreciation and amortization. Tama? Ano ba pinambabayad mo sa interest? Siyempre, cash lang. Diba? Cash pinambabayad mo dun. So, ini-eliminate natin yung mga non-cash items. So, ibig sabihin class, yung EBITDA coverage, actually, mas conservative siya kaysa sa times interest earned. Kasi sa times interest earned, nandun yung depreciation and amortization. Sa EBITDA, tinatanggal natin yun. Ganito yan, i-compute. Okay, so, kunin natin yung EBIT, 2793. Okay? Add back natin yung depreciation and amortization. So, how much yung depreciation? 1029. Wala namang amortization. So, yun na yan. So, yung numerator mo na yan, yun yung EBITDA mo. Okay? EBIT, add back mo yung depreciation and amortization. Bakit ikaw tinaga-add back, sir? Tinatanggal mo yung non-cash items. Gusto natin maging conservative. Divide mo sa interest expense na 1050. O, compute natin yung EBITDA coverage. 2793 plus 1029 divided by 1050. You get 3.64. 3.64, that is letter C. Okay, so 3.64 times natin mababayaran yung interest expense. So, parang times interest earned, gusto natin mas mataas yung EBITDA coverage natin. Okay, next, question number 8. Ano naman yung sa question number 8? Debt ratio. Okay, so debt ratio, basically, ang formula lang yan, debt over assets. Okay, so compute muna natin and then sasabihin ko kung ano ibig sabihin yan. Okay, ano yung debt? Well, yun yung liabilities natin. Total liabilities in the given. Nakita mo ba class yung total debt na 29,400? Okay, 29,400. Divided by total assets, how much yung total assets? 42,000. So, ibig sabihin yung debt ratio natin, 29.4 divided by 42,000, you get 0.7 or 70%. Okay, so answer mo dyan, class, is letter D or dog, 70%. Ano ibig sabihin, sir, ng debt ratio? Ganito ibig sabihin yung class. Yung assets ng company, basically, ang nag-finance yan, dalawa. Finance yan by creditors, which is yun yung debt natin, and finance yan by the shareholders. Basically, yun yung equity natin. Okay? Now, ang sinasabi dyan na 70%, no? Yung assets mo na 42,000, 70% niyan, basically, inutang natin. Okay? So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng debt ratio. 70% ng assets natin ang nag-provide sa atin, creditors. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, class, ano yung opposite ng debt ratio? Equity ratio. Okay? Pag equity over assets naman, ang tawag mo doon, equity ratio. Obviously, yung equity ratio, 1 minus debt ratio lang yan. Kung 70% yung debt ratio mo, equity ratio mo is 30%. Okay? So, sa assets natin na 42,000, ang nag-provide niyan, 70% creditors, 30% shareholders. Okay? Now, yung debt ratio, actually, dapat balance yan. Hindi natin alam kung anong mas okay, kung mas mataas o mas mababa. Basta dapat balance yan. Kasi pag sobrang taas ang debt ratio mo, well, malaki interest expense mo kasi galing yan sa mga creditors. Tama? Pag naman sobrang baba ng debt ratio mo, sayang naman. Baka hindi mo na-utilize na pwede kang mag-borrow sa bank and so on and so forth. So, dapat perfectly balanced lang yung debt ratio natin. Okay? So, that's for question number 8, you have dog. What is the firm's ROA? Okay? Return on assets. Uy, return. Sabi ni sir, sa pattern namin, pag return, net income yung numerator mo. Okay? Net income over, sabi, return on assets. Hindi, syempre, denominator mo, assets yan. Kumpitin natin, net income in the problem is, nakita mo ba class yung 1133 sa income statement? And then, yung assets natin, 42,000. So, kumpitin natin, return on assets, 1133 divided by 42,000, you get 2.7%. 2.7%. Answer mo dyan, class, letter A. Okay? ROA natin, letter A. Sir, ano yung ROA? Actually, class, yan din yung ROI natin. Return on investment. Kung naalala nyo sa responsibility accounting natin, ROI. Net income over assets employed. Yun yun eh. Now, ibig sabihin lang ng ROI or ROA kung how much yung na-earn ng assets natin. Okay? how much ba yung na-generate na net income ng assets natin. Okay? Obviously, mas mataas yan, mas okay. Ito, 2.7%, mababa yan. No? So, dapat mas okay kung mas mataas yung ROE natin. Next natin class, that's for question 9. Let's go to question 10. ROE naman. ROE, return on equity. Return. Sabi ni sir, pag return, for sure, net income yung numerator. Net income over equity. Compute muna natin. How much yung net income? 1,133. Yung equity natin class, tingin ka lang doon sa balance sheet natin. Total common equity, 12,600. Okay, 12,600. Therefore, yung ROE natin, 1,133, divided by 12,600, you get 8.99%. So, sagot mo dyan, class, sa ROE is boy, 8.99%. Sir, ano difference ng ROA at ROE? Okay? So, ROA, class, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, yung buong assets. And alam natin, yung assets na yan, ang nag-finance niyan, both yung creditors mo or yung debt and equity. Okay? So, buong assets, buong company, pinag-uusapan natin. Debt and equity. Pagdating sa ROE naman, obviously, equity lang. Hindi natin kino-consider yung debt. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang mas concerned dyan yung mga shareholders natin. Specifically, yung mga common shareholders natin. Okay? Mas tinitignan nila yung ROE compared dun sa ROA. Ulitin ko, pag ROA, buong company yan. Both creditors and shareholders. Pag ROE, equity lang yan. So, shareholders lang yung mas concerned dyan. Okay? Obviously, mas mataas yan, mas okay. Let's go to question number 11. Okay, 11, profit margin. Profit margin. Sabi ni sir, pag margin, denominator mo is sales. Okay, profit, net income. Sales. Okay, net income over sales. So, compute natin. Net income in the problem is 1,133. And then sales natin class, 58,800. Okay, so compute natin, 1,133. Divide by 58,800, that is 1.93%. 1.93%. Obviously, pag sinabi mong profit margin, net income over sales, ilang percent ng sales natin ang nagre-result sa net income. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, sa lahat ng nabenta mo, na 58,800, ang sa dulo, sa net income natin, 1.93% lang. Okay? So, pag sinabi mong profit margin, sa sales natin, how much ultimately ang nagiging income natin doon. Okay? Obviously, mas gusto natin, mas mataas yung profit margin. Pag mas mataas yan, ibig sabihin, mas profitable yung company. Okay? So, answer mo dyan, letter dog for number 11. Question number 12. What is the firm's dividend per share? Okay. Dividend per share. Dividends over number of shares. Tama lang? Dividends over number of shares. Dividend per share daw. Ganyan nga minsan. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, hindi ko memorize yan. Ginagamitan ko lang ng pattern and minsan ine-extra ko lang din sa pangalan ng ratio. Dividend per share daw. Dividends over shares. Okay? So, how much yung dividends natin dyan? Tingin ka doon sa other data. Nakita mo ba dyan sa other data? Sa baba ng income statement, common dividends. Nakita mo yung 509.83. Okay? So, 509.83, that is our dividends. Number of shares, ilan? Shares outstanding, 175. Yan, 175. Okay? 509.83 divided by 175, you get 2.91. Sagot mo dyan, class, dividend per share, 2.91. Boy, certain pa ibig sabihin ng dividends per share. Sa how much yung nababayad na dividends or dinideclare na dividends on a per share basis. Okay? So, how much yung marireceive ng mga shareholders na dividends on a per share basis. Ganun na siya. So, siyempre, sa point of view ng shareholders, mas mataas yung dividend per share, mas okay. Tama? The higher, the better. So, that is 2.91. Let's go to number 13. Cash flow per share. Cash flow per share. Di cash flows over shares. Okay, so ganun na siya. Now, may cash flows ba tayo? Sir, wala naman tayong cash flows dyan. Kasi yung binigay lang balance sheet and income statement, wala namang statement of cash flows. Well, kung maalala nyo yung discussion natin sa capital budgeting, pag given yung net income, add back mo yung depreciation, makukuha mo yung cash flows. Okay? So, gagawin ko dyan, sa cash flows, para makompute natin yan, net income, add back mo yung depreciation expense. Alright? So, net income natin in the problem is 1,133. Add back mo yung depreciation, which is 1,029. Yan yung cash flows natin. Yung sum nila. Divide by number of shares na 175. So, 1,133 plus 1,029. Divide natin sa 175, you get 12.35. Okay? So, 12.35, that is letter D. Our cash flow per share is letter D. Okay? Now, ano difference ng dividend per share and cash flow per share? Sa dividends per share, basically, para lang sa mga shareholders yan. Okay? Dividends nga, tama. Ngayon, yung cash flow per share, pwede rin tingnan niya ng creditors and shareholders. Kasi yung cash flow per share or cash flows, saan ba ginagamit ng company yung cash flows? Well, pambabayad na yan. Pambabayad sa mga suppliers, which are yun yung mga creditors mo. Yung cash flows, well, pandi-declare din yan as dividends. Okay? Yun yung para sa shareholders. So, ulitin ko, pag dividend per share, usually shareholders ang tumitingin yan. Pag cash flow per share, lahat. Pati creditors, pati mga shareholders. Okay? So, syempre, parang dividend per share, the higher, the better for cash flow per share. Alright. Next natin is, anong number na tayo? Question number 14. EPS or earnings per share. Uy, familiar sa yung EPS kasi topic nyo yan in FAR. Okay, EPS. Now, formula natin dyan, net income minus preferred dividends over number of shares. Okay, compute natin. Net income in the problem is 1133. And then, wala namang preferred dividends sa problem. I think wala, no? Walang sinabi. So, 0 yan. Over number of shares natin is 175. So, compute natin. 1133 divided by 175, you get 6.47. 6.47, answer natin class, letter C. Okay, earnings per share. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng earnings per share? Earnings, income ang ibig sabihin nun. So, how much yung na-earn or na-generate ng income on a per share basis. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang isang share natin, on the average, ang na-generate niya is 6.47 pesos. So, ganun ibig sabihin nun. On the average, ang isang share ng company, ang na-generate niya is 6.47 pesos. Obviously, ang gusto natin, mas mataas yung earnings per share. Okay? Ilan yan? Question 14. O, meron pa. Question 15. PE ratio. Dito na lang class, So, kasi medyo related yan. So, erase ko na to. Ayan. Sige. Let's go to question 15. PE ratio. Price earnings ratio. O, price over earnings. Ano yung price? Stock price. Okay? Earnings. Ano ba earnings? Net income. Okay? Or actually, yung PE, no? Pwede mo na siyang PE ratio. Price yan over EPS. Earnings per share. Ganito kasi yan. Price per share. Ganito yan. Price per share over earnings per share. E di yung per share mo, tanggal na yan. Okay? Kaya magiging price over earnings yan. Right? How much yung price? Yun yung stock price. Tingin ka dun sa given, sa other data. Nasa baba ng income statement. Nakita mo yung 77.69. Yun yung price mo. 77.69. Ano yung EPS natin? Ayun, na-compute natin kanina. Kaya sabi ko, related sila. 6.47. 77.69 divided by 6.47. You get 12.0. Okay, 12.0. That is letter A. What is the appearance PE ratio? 12 yung sagot mo. Okay? Now, ano ba sir ibig sabihin ng PE ratio? Okay, ito yung price, yung stock price, ito yung earnings per share, EPS. So, ibig sabihin ng PE ratio, how much yung effect ng earnings natin dun sa stock price. Okay? How much yung effect ng earnings natin sa stock price. So, on the average, for every peso na na-earn natin, okay, ang effect niya is 12 pesos sa stock price. Parang ganun. Okay? So, maraming interpretation yung PE ratio. Tandaan nyo lang, ano yung effect ng income natin sa stock price? Yun yung PE ratio. And usually, ang tumitingin yung mga investors na yung PE ratio natin. Obviously, the higher, the better. Okay, the price earnings ratio. Question number 16. What is the firm's book value per share? Sir, familiar yung book value per share. Topic nyo din yan sa FAR. Okay, ano ba yung book value per share? Formula natin dyan, common equity. Common equity over number of shares. Okay, so compute natin. How much yung common equity? Tingin ka dun sa balance sheet. Nakita mo class, total common equity, 12,600. 12,600. How much ulit yung number of shares natin? Number of shares, 175. Okay, so 12,600 divided by 175, you get 72. Okay, BVPS natin, or book value per share, 72. That is letter D or dog. Sir, ano ba ulit ibig sabihin ng book value per share? Una, sa mga common shareholders lang available yan. Hindi yan available sa mga preferred shareholders. Pag sinabi mong book value per share, pag na-liquidate yung company, pag na-bankrupt, okay? For every share, ang marireceive nila is 72 pesos. Ganun yung book value per share. Pag na-liquidate or na-bankrupt yung company, per common share, ang marireceive nila is 72 pesos. Okay? So, letter D or dog. Okay? So, let's go to number 17. Dalawa na lang. Question 17. Ano yan? Market to book. Market to book. Di market, ano ba yung market? Stock price ang ibig sabihin nun. Okay, price per share over book value per share. Related yan, ha? Okay, book value per share. Parang kanina, yung PE ratio natin, price over EPS. Okay, yung market to book naman, price over book value per share. Okay, actually price per share yan. Pero since per share yan, ito book value per share, cancel yung per share. Kaya price over book value. Ano yung price? Well, ano ba yung stock price natin dito? 77.69. Okay? Ano yung book value natin? Ayun, na-compute natin, 72, yung book value per share kanina. Okay? 77.69 divided by 72, you get 1.08. Actually, wala sa choices yung sagot. Lagay mo na lang, final answer natin dyan, 1.08. I-disregard mo na yung choices, ha? 1.08 yung sagot natin dyan. Sir, ano ibig sabihin ng market to book? Tingnan mo, ha? Price over book value. Ano ba yung book value? Di ba historical cost yun? Yung market or yung price, yun yung market value niya ngayon. So, market value over historical cost or book value. Kino-compare natin class yung difference ng market value and book value. Ngayon, pag mataas yan, so gusto natin mas mataas yan, ibig sabihin, yung assets natin, pwedeng, mas na-appreciate na yung value ng mga assets natin. Magkaiba na yung market value and book value. Okay? That's what you call price to book. Last one. What is the firm's equity multiplier? Actually, related to sa yung kaninang debt ratio natin. Okay? Pag sinabing equity multiplier, tandaan mo na lang class, no? Question number 18. Equity multiplier, assets over equity. Okay? So, how much yung assets natin? Tingin ka dun sa balance sheet, you have 42,000. Equity natin, yung total common equity na 12,600. Okay, 42,000 divided by 12,600, you get 3.33. Okay, sagot mo dyan, class, letter A. Equity multiplier, 3.33. Ano ibig sabihin dyan, sir? Ibig sabihin, class, yung assets natin is 3.33 times mas malaki sa equity. Okay? Ibig sabihin, yung equity natin, yung assets mo, okay, ang assets natin is composed of debt and equity, tama? So, ibig sabihin, yung assets mo, class, 1/3 niya na nag-finance yung equity. Parang ganun, okay? So, equity multiplier mo, ulitin ko, tandaan mo lang yung formula kasi pag equity multiplier, walang pattern yan eh. Okay? Walang pattern dito yan. So, ito yung mga kailangan mong tandaan, okay? Equity multiplier, assets over equity. Okay? So, that is 3.33. Ulitin ko, yung assets mo, 3.33 times, mas malaki dun sa equity mo. Okay? So, ayan. Letter A for question number 18. Now, for the succeeding problems, yan din naman yung mga tanong, so magpa-practice lang tayo. Hindi ko na-i-explain in detail kung ano ibig sabihin ng mga ratios na yun kasi na-explain ko na sa problem number 1, okay? So for the succeeding, mabilis na lang yung pagsasagot natin. Let's have a short break before we continue answering our handouts.